All right, Lisa, you want to get us rolling?
Sure. Well, welcome everyone. Hi, I'm Lisa Flegel, a member of the Education Committee. We are excited to feature this networking opportunity with our Missouri Gateway chapter of the United States Green Buildings Council. Today, we have some members and non-members of the chapter, so thank you for joining us. Our chapter, like many nonprofits throughout the country, rely on funding, and the biggest source is through our memberships. If you haven't already joined as a member, please consider joining. We are also currently accepting submission for our 2023 call for proposals. Program proposals are due Monday, January 2nd, 2023 to get on the summer 2023 calendar. And save the date for our annual State of the Council, Monday, January 30th, 2023. The goal of our coffee breaks is to provide an opportunity for our community to engage in conversational hot topics over a cup of coffee in a short 30-minute break. Our theme for today's conversation is Brentwood Bound, Historic Rain and Flooding Update. Today, I'm excited to introduce our special guest, Eric Gruenenfelder, Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Brentwood. Eric has worked in municipal recreation for the past 20 years, spending the past 8 years at the City of Brentwood in his current position. As a member of the Brentwood Bound Administration Project team, Eric has focused on the park and green space development, as well as assisting with the procurement and management of grants related to Brentwood Bound. Please join me in welcoming Eric.
Good morning, and thank you, Lisa, for the introduction. And I want to thank the USGBC for allowing me to speak about Brentwood Bound again. As I told Lisa this morning and Freddie this morning, 10 minutes is going to be tough for me. I can go on most of the day, so feel free to cut me off. Let's make sure I can get it going. I have a quick presentation kind of talk about. And this is all in the wrong spot for me. All right, does everyone see the slideshow?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you guys again for having me. So I just want to talk about Brentwood Bound and Brentwood Bound. I was able to discuss this in May of 2021 at a USGBC meeting. So I just wanted to kind of give an update. And so for those who weren't there, just a quick introduction on Brentwood Bound. And really it's a project that the city of Brentwood is doing based on 3 projects and kind of bound together. And the first is a Deer Creek flood mitigation project. And that is the set off of the fact that there's been historical flooding in the city of Brentwood on Manchester Road. And the city was trying to figure out for a long time how to stop that flooding. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. We also connect one of our park systems, our trails, to Deer Creek Greenway. So a great sustainable effort. And then road improvements on Manchester Road. So we did this after many years of trying to work with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, with MSD. We kind of hit a lot of dead ends. So the city decided to talk to Jacobs Engineering, who does a lot of water projects throughout the country. And we figured out that it could be done. And we figured out how we had to do it. And so the city took it upon ourselves. So in 2018, we passed a certificate of participation, which took care of half the funding of the $90 million project. And then in 2019, we passed an economic sales tax. So a portion of sales tax within the Brentwood community pays for the other half. So if you ever come and shop in Brentwood, Target or Whole Foods or anything, thank you very much. You're helping us with this project. As I said, the impetus of this was flooding from Deer Creek Greenway. And you can kind of see we've had a long historic issue with flooding going back to 1957 all the way to 2016. There's just multiple times, Depression, Ike in 2015, and just tons of times where we've had a issue with flooding on Manchester Road. So here's just a couple of quick pictures, kind of shows in 2008, 2015, 2016, what had happened and just some of the views. The middle one is, that's our fire department. We actually have a swift water rescue team in the city of Brentwood and boats, primarily just for Manchester Road. So the whole portion of this project was to alleviate the ongoing flooding problems and really enhance public safety. And we did it through a number of ways, but the basic is, the idea was to restore the natural floodplain for Deer Creek in the city of Brentwood. Throughout the years, more and more businesses, corporations kind of bump up next to the creek, and that kind of just killed the floodplain. And we're trying to reclaim that floodplain to ensure that we have somewhere for water to go, including with that is stream bank stabilization, making sure that stream banks hold during high water events, and then obviously reducing sedimentation. So the biggest thing is, our goal in this project was to restore the floodplain to adequately handle the stormwater. And and a couple primary benefits on top of that is, we actually develop a sustainable urban creek area within St. Louis, and there's not a lot of those around. It improves public safety. Hopefully our fire department doesn't need to get out and go after, or have to do water rescues. And that area down there is also kind of downrun with all the water damage. So being able to revitalize an underused area of the city. So those were the main things. And again, what the yellow line kind of here is the current floodplain. And when the project is done, we expect the floodplain to kind of hold within that white shaded area. So you'll see how we're able to kind of restore the natural floodplain and be able to kind of hold the water within the creek. So there we go. So that was our goal. And then July 26th through the 28th came. And for those who are here in St. Louis, you kind of know, you've heard all this before, but we got 9 inches of rain in 24 hours, which is the highest amount in the record of St. Louis. We received 7.68 inches of rain in just 6 hours. That is a 1 in 1,000 chance of occurring. Some of my favorite stats is 25% of St. Louis annual rainfall came in those 12 hours. It's just crazy what had happened in that time. That 8.6 inches of rain through 7 a.m. broke this all-time record in St. Louis for a daily record, which was in 1915, the remnants of the hurricane in Galveston. And so, I mean, just all these things, it was, the National Weather Service called it the most prolific rain event in the St. Louis metropolitan area since records began in 1874. So we took on a lot of water, and it, we'll show some things that happened, but it was interesting to kind of see what might happen. And then as we're kind of cleaning up from that, it happened again. So August 3rd, 7 days later, we get another deluge of rain. And what you kind of see here again from National Weather Service is they show it's the wettest 2-week period recorded ever in St. Louis. Once again, July 26th broke the daily record ever. August 3rd broke the record for August 3rd. We had the most rain on August 3rd ever, and 15 inches of rain from July 24th to August 4th. And the interesting thing is the stream gauge. So the USGS, the United States Geological Survey, has flood stream gauges in the creeks, and the Rock Hill stream gauge crested the major flood stage 4 times in that 10-day period. And so that's some crazy, amazing amount of water that we saw come in. And the second rain was even worse than the first one because all the soils were saturated. So even that first part of that very beginning part of the rain, it had nowhere to go. So it just went into the creek and just flew down Deer Creek into Brentwood. So what I'm going to show you is just a couple quick videos of some things that happened. So we actually had construction cameras up on site because we're still an active construction area. And what you'll see is this camera here is the first one, and that's kind of the main part of our flood mitigation area. And you'll also see this area right here, which is the lake, which is one of the major retention areas. So when water comes, this lake will fill up, This whole area, basically south of this, is expected to fill with water and continue to keep it moving downstream instead of flowing out onto Manchester Road. The second one is called the Breckenridge Bridge. That was still under construction. This bridge is a major choke point of Deer Creek. And so the design includes a new bridge, a higher bridge to allow water to flow through. And so we kind of have some pictures. So you kind of see, here's the remnants of the lake. Here's kind of the creek running through here now. And what we'll see is we took video and we kind of stream lived it from the day prior, so July 25th through July 26th. So you get a little bit of the pouring some concrete, and you kind of see the creek running through here. Now, the bad thing is the rains are at night, so we don't get to see it rise, but you'll see you'll kind of see the water take effect. And you see it, how quickly it then goes down throughout the end of the day. But again, my favorite is going backwards. You just kind of see it. So from here, how it's all dry. And then this was about 7 a.m. in the morning. So we didn't have anything before that, but that is no longer a creek. That is a river. And it was interesting to see. Second one, I talked about the Deer Creek Bridge again. This is the new bridge. So this is going to be the bottom of the bridge. As you see, here's kind of the old bridge. We'll show this again. Fun tidbit, if you're watching closely, watch for the fire department boat coming across here during the event. Again, they're getting the bridge ready, the day before. Leave their equipment there because they're not expecting what we got. And then we see what's coming through the next day. And again, at the end of this is the end of July 26th. So how quickly the water comes up and how quickly it disperses back into the creek. So that's just two quick videos of what we see. And this kind of gives you just a geographical view of how everything works, where you see we got the water flows from the stream gauge. You kind of see the water flow. So 6,000 cubic feet per second in 2005, the highest being 2008 with Tropical Storm Ike, where we're at 10,200. And then you kind of see it below. Well, this is what we got: 95.90, 77.60, 65.10 was the lowest, back over 9,000. And what you saw was that first day, a little bit of shallow flooding on Manchester Road. And we have since determined a lot of that came from inlets, back MSD inlets that were just overrun and backflowing from there. And then the other three, basically, we did not have any flooding on Manchester Road. So the nice thing about this is it's quickly become kind of like a proof of concept for us, that what we wanted to see is this project and how well it worked. And it worked tremendously well. We're incredibly excited about what happened, because we talk about these events being a 500-year to 1,000-year event. The one on the August 4th was about a 200-year event. And we built this project for the 100-year event. So while we built it for 100, it withstood the 500, 200 year kind of events. And the better news about all this is a number of things. I kind of mentioned all this. The first one, the lake. The main water retention area basin was only 75% completed at the time of the flood. So we're still digging down, we're still putting in the pond liner. It was still being constructed. It's done now, so it could take more water the next time we have a large rain event. This bridge, which I talked about, the Breckenridge Bridge, which is a huge choke point, as you saw, had not been replaced at the time. So we expect the water to flow better the next storm event because we have the proper bridge in there. We have a secondary water basin over here. It's a dry basin that will fill up only when we have storm events. They haven't even started construction on that basin at the time of the flood. And for me, the best news, and I don't even get to talk about Parks and Rec a whole lot, but this area up here, which is where all of our main park features are going to be, our pavilion, this event lawn, this is a 3-acre playground, none of that flooded. So that stayed dry throughout the entire event. So again, it was a very interesting couple days. but one, and at the end of it, we're quite happy to see, because it was gratifying to know the work that we had done had worked, and we're not even done with the project. So I was told 5 to 10 minutes, so I hopefully got you guys done quick enough, and happy to talk about this as long as you guys want. And Lisa, I'm not sure if we're just taking questions, or if you, oh, I can stop sharing my screen. I can do that first. And how you want to handle this part, Lisa?
Sure. My understanding is we will open it up to questions. And I do want to thank you again, Eric. That was a wonderful presentation.
I have a question. When you do get a storm event, are you expecting it just to be gravitational flow from the one to the second storm retention areas, or are you pumping it to help it get to the other storm retention areas?
No, it's all gravitational. We don't have any pumps involved in this project.
Hey, Eric, I have a quick question for you. My company's business, our building is located on Brentwood Boulevard. We're right across the street from the Metro bus terminal in between Manchester and Marshall Road. I'm assuming all the mitigation work you guys are doing is going to have hopefully a positive effect on the creek down here, because our office took on some water when the first event came awfully close the third time, and the one that came in August 3rd and 4th. So I'm assuming that the mitigation work you're doing that's helping out the folks on Manchester Road, that's also going to help those of us who have a business over here on Brentwood Boulevard between Manchester and Marshall.
Yeah, we're hoping, David, to be completely honest, that was not part of the scope of the project. It literally started from east of Brentwood Boulevard to Hanley.
Right.
So you know the area. Now I will tell you, we are looking at those type of things too. We are trying to see, in fact, the city passed is approved a contract to get into the creek right around there, and also up on Black Creek to do a little bit of cleanup to help. If you look back there, the funny thing is, and I apologize for anyone, this doesn't make me sound exciting, but that creek back there, it's an S curve. I mean,
Right.
That's the hard part about that creek, is because it comes around and it has to bend around.
Yeah, it snakes through. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we've talked to our engineers about is that we expect to see a benefit. On my park, Brentwood Sports Complex is right there next to you guys. And we took on a lot of water during those 2 days. Our park we had 7 feet of water in our park there. So we hope to see kind of a beneficial result of it, but we're not sure, and we don't have the data to support that yet.
Okay, thanks.
David, did you feel a difference though? Do you think from like years past compared to what happened recently, even though what happened recently was historic?
I won't bore you all with the history of our building, but 2008, when Ike came through, we got about 18 inches of water throughout our whole building. In 2015, the storms that came through right around Christmas, it came up to the front step of our building. And then this year, so the July storm, it came into the back warehouse, didn't come into the front office area. And then the second and the third time, it came awfully close to coming into the building, but nothing ever actually came in. And we're surrounded by another company called Millman Lumber, and they had lumber pretty much everywhere, all 3 storms. So I know that they're have expressed some concerns as well, because they have a lot more to lose than we do. So
David, this is Susan. On a day-to-day, as a business owner in that area that's so vulnerable, when it rains, do you run down to the office? I mean, what is that like for you guys?
It's nerve-wracking. I will admit, if we know we have a lot of rain coming, then yes, either I live close, my dad lives close, my brother lives close, so we can get to the office within a matter of 5 minutes. And sometimes we can't even get here. We have to park, a few blocks away and walk down, because we can't physically get into our building. So when we get a normal rain like what we had this week, then it's really not a concern. But when we have what we had back in the summer, yes, it causes a lot of sleepless nights.
I mean, the good and bad of it is, and as David knows, and we talked about, is that This is a rain event we hadn't seen before in St. Louis. And the sad thing is we keep saying that we keep seeing more and more of these. I mean, these 100-year floods seem to come a lot quick, a lot more. But we're hoping that at least through our project area that we'll see a significant improvement.
Eric, has there been any, I know it's really interesting and good to hear that you're relying on data to shape your engineering decisions. Was there ever a thought of, say, putting stakes in the ground and saying no more development past this or that point? Or are you just managing the development where it is without saying restricting where people can go? Where businesses can go, not people, but buildings.
Yeah, when we started this project, we redefined the corridor and redefined the limits of the corridor so that we would not infringe on the floodplain, the restored floodplain in the future. So that is steps through working with engineers and then working with our planning development department, redefining that corridor to make sure that we held that floodplain, the floodplain in the future. Eric,
was the corridor rezoned by the city?
I believe so. I think, it was, I hate to tell you, Susan, that is not my area of expertise. I'm sorry. But I know we keep always talking about like the MC corridor. So I believe it was rezoned prior to or during the beginning stages of the project.
So, Eric, have there been any buyouts, any residential buyouts? I think I heard a story from a woman that her house flooded so badly that I don't know if she's in Webster. She must be just across Marshall Road, that she's being bought out, or she's moving totally because it's unbuildable.
We have not seen that yet. Because most of our residential was on the north side of Brentwood, or sorry, Manchester Road. We did not have any water hit any of those homes. And we have had issues with water in homes on the north side of Manchester in the past. So again, we are ecstatic that what we did was the proof of concept was that it actually did work. Now the city did have to buy out some properties on the south side. And those are all companies and corporations and had to get easements from other ones, again, basically for the mitigation project.
I see that Brandon asked a question in the chat that I can pose to you. What would you change in the design knowing what you know now? Are there any big improvements you'd make?
We're really happy with the design. I think one of the things we saw on this project or this past rain event was Black Creek. So Black Creek connects with Deer Creek basically right at Hanley and Manchester. And the storm event in July had a lot of effect on Black Creek. And that's not something that we looked at, to be completely honest, because all the issues in the past have been Deer Creek. And so I think if we were to look at this again, we'd probably take a larger holistic view of Black Creek as well, and how that water runs into Deer Creek and back up. Some people said, I did not see it, but some people said that Deer Creek, especially there, changed directions the day of the storm based on the amount of water coming down through Black Creek on July 26th. Again, that's so some of our construction managers said that, that's some things that they saw. I did not see that personally, but again, I think that's the one thing we would probably want to look at a little bit more is the coordination between Black Creek and Deer Creek.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Eric, so anywhere involved in the project, are you doing any consulting with the different property owners of what they might do on their own personal sites or with their buildings in terms of preparing for the next, hopefully not, flood. What I'm thinking about is decades ago, I worked for McCarthy, which is back off Litzinger at McKnight. And there was a heavy rain right at the end of the day. Deer Creek rose and it flooded the parking lot, and it flooded our building, parts of the building. And so within a couple of years, we added a very large addition, and the addition's like 8 feet higher. And so there are all these steps where the old and new buildings adjoin. Are you doing any consulting or conversations with current property owners of things they can do or they might think about going forward?
I know our planning development department is having those type of conversations with people. Officially, has there been a large outreach? I couldn't tell you for sure, Hannah. But I know that we continue to talk to property owners along that corridor to make sure they are prepared, whether it's, working with them through their flood insurance, national flood insurance. We're also hopefully working with redefining the floodplain. The whole idea is to get property out of the floodplain. So we're working with we're working with not FEMA, but we're working with the government to kind of redefine that floodplain around that whole corridor as well. And so those are the type of things we're focused on right now.
I'm the lady with 1,000 questions. And Michael, I would also, if you can chime in on this one, but I know the Deer Creek watershed people have made it a goal to look at the water quality of the watershed. So with these kind of flooding and uncontrolled water events, what happens to the water quality and all the pets and wild animals that run around and drink the water?
I can tell you that we have a number of areas in the project area that we're trying to hold the water, treat the water, and then naturally release it back to the creek. Those will probably be better on smaller events, not quite the events we saw on July 26. But I know that we received a 319 grant to put in a storm basin to treat water that is just starting construction now. So it was not in place on July. We also worked with Bi-State, is that area right there. The city just purchased that about 6 acres of that wetland property south of Bi-State. So we are actually working with the Deer Creek Watershed Alliance on another grant to try to turn that into a wetland arboretum, which again would help treat some of that water as it comes through the watershed. So there's a couple of small things we're trying to do. I'm sure Michael probably has a grander vision than what I have.
Well, what we do is that we have also designed a number of water quality testing labs, and depending on the source water, I mean, these don't need to be, very, very large facilities, or we take water from various areas and send them to the most up-to-date labs for testing. So it's the testing part in my view is relatively simple. So for instance, if you were just collecting samples after a big rain event, where do you send the water for a test?
Yeah, we're working with with Jacobs and our engineer to help us with that. I don't have the exact company we send it to, but we are working through Jacobs on those type of things.
Yep. Well, and I think it's how do I say it? I think it's a useful part of your community connection, because then it's a natural question. Well, what happens when it floods, and what's the quality of the water, and and in my view, the testing aspect is not that complicated. I think, and it's another level of assurance you could offer the public. Here's the flood, here's what we're doing to get it mitigated so it doesn't wash your house away, and we did a test here and there of the water, and it meets all the standards, and I am absolutely sure Jacobs can point that to, because it's typically it's not necessarily the engineering company that does it, but it's to what the closest or the most appropriate water district that says, yeah, we took a barrel of, or a carboy, those containers of water, we took it to blah blah blah, we tested it, and it's the water quality is acceptable. So it's I think it's just another level of assurance you can offer the public, and it's pretty low hanging fruit. It's not, you don't have to build a Lawrence Berkeley lab to test it. It's not that complicated. Is that it? Come on, guys. You got him right here.
Yeah, I know. I have one question, I guess, just kind of thinking about other communities and local municipalities, if anyone has reached out to you guys to kind of learn about the project and see if they can take a similar approach in their communities.
Yeah, we have. We've reached out, or we've had people reach out to us. We've also gone out to do presentations like at MML and organizations like that. But I think a lot of people, especially at this last flooding and kind of after we talked about it, had reached out, elected officials to our elected officials, people like U City, Maplewood, Webster, those type of people are kind of who also saw damage throughout their system and wanted to see what we did and how it worked. And we're happy to talk to anyone. As I said, myself, the mayor, the city administrator, anyone on the department team can talk to we're blue in the face about this project and things we're doing. So it's one of those things that we're happy, if anyone ever wants to reach out to us, we're happy to share. That's the nice thing about municipal government for the most part is that we're happy to share whatever we do with other people, and we're very kind of giving community as much like everyone else is.
I see that Mark had a question in the chat. Will the green space be mowed lawn, or will there be some more intensive planted areas using native plants, shrubs, and trees?
So it'll be kind of a mixture, to be honest. Around the trail, we'll have some sod, but a lot of the open spaces, the areas throughout the park and down the trail system all the way to Hanley will be native grass. It's two. One is native, it's grow. It's also helpful with maintenance as well, so you don't have to get out there and mow every day. Our designers, our landscape architects throughout the project, whether it seems like the 30 projects, but there's actually even more. We had planning design studio on the flood mitigation project. We had Christner and their architects on the pavilion project. We had SWT and the playground project. And all three of them were really we talked to them, tasked with utilizing native plants and trees, and bushes, and making the site as sustainable as possible through landscaping. I think they all did a very nice job.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have any other questions? Freddie, is there anything else you want to add on?
Oh, well, I guess since we have Susan Armstrong on the call, I was curious, I guess, Susan, how things are going in U City with flooding and kind of their stormwater management as
Oh, good.
well.
Thank you, Freddie, for asking, and thank you guys for attending the continued flood discussion by the Green Party of St. Louis is sponsoring it for University City. We're going to talk again in January 4th. And so again, we have a stormwater commission or committee, and we seem to be in talking a lot. So I'm going to reach out to you, Eric, or we're going to reach out to you, Eric, and get more information. Thank you for asking, Freddie.
Great.
So a follow-up question just to the audience at large, a follow-up to Susan's comments. I did have time and I listened to the conversation that Susan led last week. Since then, I read in the paper that Lacey Clay, former congressional representative, has been hired by University City, and then in fact, he's looking for money because someone has done some engineering work and is proposing a very large catch basin up in the Overland area. Does anyone know anything about that?
You know, Hannah, when you sent me that article, I was trying to get smart by going on ucitymo.org, where we have full transparency on our city council meetings and the study sessions from the University City Council. So I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, you know, for I think what his pay is $8,000 a month as a lobbyist. But one thing that we did discover in our first flood call, because we had the legislators there like Joe Adams and the city council people, that flooding was not a priority for that level, the city council as well as the state representative. So I get a feeling that that University City is starting to throw everything at the problem. Yeah, thank you for that article.
Mm-hmm. Did we lose Eric?
I think we did, and I haven't seen him try to log back in because I know it seems like his connection was good. There he is. Was going in and out.
There he is.
And these are great discussions because what the mayor of University City says is it's a region, the flooding is a regional problem. So solving it city by city is kind of a stall, really. We can't solve this together. Upstream is as important as downstream.
Definitely. With that, I want to thank Eric for an informative and wonderful presentation. It was an important topic, and thank you everyone for attending. I hope everyone has some wonderful holidays coming up, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Wonderful. Thank you guys. Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Take care. Thanks, Eric.
Holidays.
Yes, happy holidays.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy. Awesome.